There's no shortcuts. If you're looking for shortcuts, I'm not your guy, and that's okay. But I'm gonna tell you something: the shortcut will bite you in the butt. Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. In 2020, I was named a game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation Entrepreneurship. And today I want to serve as your government contracting coach. Now, if you have not visited our channel before, the goal of this channel is to help entrepreneurs overcome common business challenges by providing education, consultation, and training support. Now, we're unlike other channels because we're based on 26 plus years of progressive experience and lessons learned. Now, in addition to real world experience in the trenches as government contracting, I've also invested very heavily in my personal education with a master's in business administration, a master's of science in project management, and now I am finalizing my PhD pursuit in management. So that we believe is a huge discriminator between us and other channels. So we can talk about the theoretical, we could talk about the practical, and we could talk about the lessons learned along the way. And based on my own personal survey, there are not a lot of real doctors in this space. Now, there's some folks who call themselves doctors, and there's one person I'm aware of that has a PhD, but I don't think it's in a business related area. So that gives us a little bit of a edge. So we're going to be able to give you the actual as well as the practical lessons learned, backed by research if needed. Okay, that aside, now I want you to go to 8figuregovcon.com. I want you to go to the URL on the website, 8figuregovcon.com, and I want you to go take a look at our course. Now we have a variety of courses you can do. You can do a la carte, or you can do the mastery bundle, which is what I recommend, the 5X mastery bundle. And so I encourage you to go to the website. And if you want to just go directly to the store, you can see all of our offerings there. Okay. Now, before I jump into my topic, first of all, I want to encourage you to like, share, and leave me a comment. Now, many of you guys know the last couple of weeks I was not recording. As many of you know, I was defending my PhD dissertation, which I did successfully defend. So, I thank you for all of the shout outs on social media in that process. So I'm very thankful. And you guys outpoured love and support for me during that process. And it truly means a lot. I'm very thankful. But now that we're moving forward, I'm really looking at ways that we can improve the channel, continue providing action-oriented guidance, advice, tips, and just helping you on your government contracting journey. So that's what's super important to me is your personal success. So you won't see me doing a whole bunch of attraction marketing, showing my stuff, because this channel is not about me. This channel is how I pay it forward to you. And I recognize that everyone may not buy a course, and that's okay. I would love if you did. I'd love to serve as your personal coach, but being your virtual coach is fine too. So hopefully you'll find things of value on this channel, and we'll be your go-to for all things government contracting. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, you are going to see our channel broaden a little bit as I get into some of the other areas that are just as important to me as government contracting. As many of you know, government contracting changed my life, and it is not the only way, but it is a way that your financial trajectory can be potentially changed as well. Okay, now that we have all of that out of the way, I have an interesting topic, I believe, for you today. Now, you'll let me know in the comments if you find it interesting too, but I got an interesting topic for you today. I want to talk about the 5 bidding mistakes should have put new government contractors make. These are the challenges that I see as I talk to students, as I find myself in social media. These are the questions that are reoccurring. So I want to make a video just based on some things that I've seen. So hopefully you will avoid some of the common mistakes that I see in the bidding contract pursuit process. So let's go ahead and jump into what I want to share with you guys today. And I'm going to start with a quote. I want to start with the quote. And that quote is, this is Jim Otto. Jim Otto was he was an all pro center for the Raiders. He says it's not difficult to win. It's more difficult to win consistently and stay on top. And this is the advice I find myself giving new government contractors. It is not hard to win a contract. It's hard to keep the contracts that you win. And in this video, I'm going to explain what I mean by that. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot of training and experience to put a contractor in and win. But it's more difficult to maintain a contract, especially if your approach is flawed. So I'm going to talk about some common flaws that I see in the approach of new government contractors today. That's kind of my that's one of my objectives for this particular program, is to show you the flaws that ensue. So again, it's not hard to win a contract, but can we keep the contracts that we win is what's most important. Now, sounds easy, but I see it's actually not hard, but I see a lot of newbies, especially ones that have been miseducated in securing and maintaining the work once they win it. Yeah, let's just keep moving so I can get through the content here, because there's a whole lot of things running through my brain right now, and I just want to make sure we stay on track. So one of the major reasons why government contractors they start off in a position that's not optimal. So when they look at an opportunity and they find their potential teaming partners, typically there is a poor or no contractual agreements in place. This is a no-no. And I see this way more often than I want to. Teaming agreements. And a lot of this can apply to your teaming agreement and your subcontract agreement, but for the sake of brevity, I'm only going to focus on the teaming agreement, but a lot of the same rules apply even in the subcontract agreement. So teaming agreements are too broad. They are not specific. Your teaming agreements and your subcontract agreements, for that matter, need to be specific to an agency, specific to a solicitation number or contract number. There's an award already, and specific to a scope of work or a performance work statement, also known as a PWS. So SOW, scope of work, PWS, performance work statement. Oftentimes, these flawed teaming agreements that I see do not define the roles and responsibility of your subcontractors. And if you are a subcontractor to a prime, these are the things you should be seeing in your agreement as well. So are we talking about proposal support, especially if we're in the pursuit phase? What is the level of proposal support you're expecting from your subs, your teammates? Are there any work share allocations? What is the approach? Is it going to be a best athlete approach? How are the full FTEs, the full-time equivalents, the support personnel, that's what that means. How are they going to be solicited and placed on the contract from your teaming partners? These are the things you need to be talking about. Is there anything in there about arbitration, mediation, indemnification? Those are things that need to be in your teaming agreement. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot go to LegalZoom and download a teaming agreement and think it's going to cover you. Those are generic statements. You need a teaming agreement that's going to give you the protection it should be giving you. But I find a whole bunch of government contractors, of course the new ones, that are downloading teaming agreements from LegalZoom or some other website and wondering why it doesn't provide the coverage they need. Now, when do they find out that it doesn't provide the coverage? When something occurs. These documents are a form of risk insurance. They're to cover you. They're to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. And as things occur in your business, your teaming agreements need to be updated to reflect the things you've experienced to hopefully prevent those experiences from reoccurring again in the future. And I could spend a whole video just on the teaming agreements, but I need my newer government contractors to get your contractual documents in place, your non-disclosure agreement, your teaming agreement, your subcontracting agreement. And if you're a sub, you should be getting these documents from your prime based on where you may be in the procurement process with them. But let me move on. So, number one, poor contractual agreements, and oftentimes no agreement. We have to stop this. We have to make sure we get our business houses in order. Number two, failure to understand the evaluation criteria. Now, I thought you said, Kurt, we're talking about bidding. Yes, all this is a buildup. We're going to get to, but a lot of times we don't have the housekeeping in place. And when we don't have these things in place, it communicates something to our partners, especially those who have been around the game for a while. And if you don't have these things in place, it communicates that you're a novice. It communicates that you really don't know what's going on. We want to make sure we're always putting our best foot forward. And number two, this is a big one because this is going to feed into the other 3 points I'm going to talk about. Failure to understand the evaluation criteria. I'm talking about bidding mistakes. But if we don't understand what the government is asking for and how they're making a decision, we're going to find ourselves bidding in a fashion that's not optimal for our business. So when bidding, the government tells you how they're going to determine the winner. Is it going to be a best value approach? Is it going to be lowest price technically acceptable? Those two things are not the same. If you want more detail, you can jump in one of my courses, and I go in this in great detail, but this is just meant to be a summary. But based on the government's approach, that's how we need to be approaching our pricing strategy. Are you approaching a best value offer from an LPTA perspective? This is a lose-lose for you because you might win. You might win and find yourself in a disadvantaged position because you simply didn't understand the evaluation criteria from the federal government. Often there's a mismatch between the evaluation criteria of the government, this can also apply for a prime, and your pricing strategy. So these are things that you'll hear. It should be based on historical data. So they'll tell you to go to USA Spending or FPDS, and that's great. You should have a historical understanding of what that contract has done historically. Now, this, of course, doesn't apply for new efforts, but for recompetes, definitely go get your market research. But then I hear crazy things like this. Go and reach out to 3 of your subcontractors and ask them what their pricing approach is and pick the middle of the 3. Especially, I hear this a lot in the middleman approach. Crazy. This is crazy to me because what this does not account for, it does not account for your pricing. Yes, you've accounted for the pricing of your subs and they add a little bit of fee on top. They don't know how much to add. We're going to just add $100 or $1,000, which is crazy to me. But these are the things that I hear coming out of the middleman camp. And I know because some of those middleman people have found themselves in my courses, and we have to deconstruct the mess that they have made. So this is not a strategy, but we need to make sure there's a proper alignment between what the government is looking for and your pricing, because this will cause problems downstream. I promise you. Let's keep moving. Number 3. All contract types are not created equally. There are 3 primary contracts in federal space. Now, there's a whole bunch of variants. There's actually a bunch of different variations, but you got cost plus contracts, you have firm fixed price contracts, and then you have a hybrid contract. You'll see this typically as a sub. It'll take a form of like a T&M, time and materials contracts. But I need you to know that contract types are based on the government's risk appetite. So there's a reason why they will extend a cost plus contract in one instance and a firm fixed price contract in another instance. There's a reason why they do this. They're communicating indirectly how much risk they think is there. In a firm fixed price contract, you're accepting the majority of the risk, whether you knew it or not. In a cost plus contract, the government is shouldering the burden of the risk. In a hybrid contract type, a T&M, there's a equal balance in the risk share. So why is this important? Because if you know you're taking on more risk, you need to be adjusting your pricing to compensate for the risk. Do you have a program management reserve if you're doing a firm fixed price contract? Knowing that you're stuck with that contract. And I'm going to use that one just for a second. And a firm fixed price contract, it's a great opportunity for you to maximize value if you know what you're doing. You can knock one out the park in terms of profitability if you know what you are doing. But understand, in a firm fixed price contract, you are accepting the majority of the risk. I don't care if it's a firm fixed price, LOE, level effort. I don't care if it's incentive fee. You need to understand these major cost types and understand how do you price them accordingly. It's not just a matter of you going to find three potential subcontractors, finding out their price and putting 1,000 or 2,000 or some nominal value on top. That is a flawed strategy. And I've been hearing this approach far too many times. And then companies get themselves in trouble. Moving on. Number 4, failure to include escalation in pricing. It is not the government's responsibility. Another one I hear. It is not the government's responsibility to make sure escalation is added in your pricing. We are responsible government contractors. It is not the government's job to tell us what we should be doing. And we should not be relying on the contracting officer or the contracting specialist to say, oh, you didn't add escalation. Let's add that for you. This is crazy to me. This is poor business advice that I hear on YouTube and from students who have been impacted by these flawed strategies. So in my example on here, I just used a base contract of $1 million. And I want to show you what happens when you do not include your escalation. Let's just say this contract's $1 million a year. Now, the untrained, the unsavvy government contractor would bid $1 million for base year, option year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and have a total price of about $5 million. Oh man, it was a great day. But you left approximately $309,000 on the table just by not adding escalation. Now, in this fictitious example here, I put a 3% escalation. This is what's going to help your business maintain the cost of inflation, because costs are rising every year. And if you don't believe me, go look at the gas pump and go to the grocery store. The price of bread last year is different than the price of bread this year. It went up in cost. Bacon has went up in cost. So if the grocery stores are getting the inflation or the escalation, why aren't you? But I digress. So in our fictitious example, with a 3%, and the government is completely fine with a 3 to 5% escalation every year. Now, there would be times when you wouldn't do this, but that's when you really know what you're doing and you got everything in place that I teach in my classes and you're making it a competitive decision. But I see people not including escalation just because they don't know any better. That's a different problem. Now, there may be times where you might not even ask for the 3%. You may ask for 1% or 2%. But again, I'm talking to new government contractors mostly who are not new to this space. There are times when we would not ask for escalation if we know we're in a contested battle. But this is not the case because I'm seeing contractors bid contracts into the dirt. But I digress. So you see, year 1, I go into option year, base year. I'm at $1 million. When I go in option year 1, I'm already up $30,000. for no other reason. I performed, I'm doing my job, and I go in option year and I got a $30,000 increase because of escalation. Option year two, I'm up 60,000 from my initial bid in the base year. And then I look at year three, I'm up $92,000, a little more in option year three. And in option year four, I'm up $125,000 from the base year. So if I look at the money you're leaving on the table by not including escalation, you've left $309,135.81 on the table just by not including escalation. Again, it is not the government's responsibility to make sure you capture this cost. This is something you need to be doing, and it needs to be in your pricing package when you submit the proposal. I want you to stop looking like a rookie. I want you to price like a seasoned vet. I want you to rely on my 26 plus years of experience so that you can beat the competition hands down. But the problem is, let me go back a slide. The problem is some of you are so happy to get a contract, don't understand the cost. And then when you get the contract, you find out that you may have inherited a headache because of many of you not listening to the advice that I'm telling you. You're listening to quote unquote gurus who are giving you, just quite frankly, bad advice. And then when it goes bad, I get the DM in my on Instagram saying, help me, I'm about to lose my contract. This happens a lot. And I'm having to help them read and sort through the problems that they have unknowingly caused themselves through bad coaching. So it matters. It matters who you listen to. Everyone who has a great social media following should not be teaching government contracts. And I'm not even going to talk about these newsletters I've been seeing floating around with my information that's been my information being rehashed. It goes completely contrary to everything they teach. But I digress. Last but not least, number 5, because they have avoided most of the steps that I talked about in this video, they price the contracts way too low. And then they struggle to perform on the contract. They do not understand the cost of doing the work. They don't understand direct labor, overhead, G&A or general administrative, friends, profit pools. They don't understand this or other direct costs. They don't even understand internal pricing and fully burdened rates, which is why they'll give you advice. Go get 3 beds and then add $100 or $1,000 or $5,000 to it, which is crazy. You're not accounting for your own costs. You've accounted for the cost of the subs. How are you supposed to make money? And if I hear someone else tell me that they'll never make more money than their subcontractor, I'm going to scream. You sound crazy to me. Who goes in the business to be a prime contractor, take all the risk and make pennies and peanuts? But if it all goes bad, the government is going to hold you accountable, and you're a prime. And as a prime, majority of your money is going out the door. Where do they do this? But these are the things that y'all tell me. And then y'all think this is good business. It's not. It is not. Name me one legitimate, reputable business that would do that. And I'm going to tell you, you're not, because they're not going to be in business long. And many of the things that I'm hearing in government contracting land that you guys are doing is not sustainable. Can you win a contract? Yeah, you can win a contract with this crazy stuff that I be hearing these coaches telling y'all to do. But can you keep the contract? Is the contract now become a headache to you because you didn't understand fully burdened rates? Because you didn't understand that you were not in an LPTA evaluation, you were in a best value, and the government was expecting a premium in the pricing. But these are the things I hear. These are things I hear. But hey, I hope this video was helpful to you. And I hope the light bulb came on that you need to be very careful who you consume your content from. Just be careful. Now, there's some great folks out there. I like to think we're the best. There's some great folks out there teaching good stuff, but you need to have enough information to evaluate the things that you're hearing. And I need you to read. I need you to read and understand what you're reading. And if someone tells you they don't like to read, you might want to reevaluate if that's someone you should be listening to. Education is fundamental. Now, education is not confined to a classroom, but you got to be a seeker of knowledge. There's no shortcuts. If you're looking for shortcuts, I'm not your guy, and that's okay. But I'm going to tell you something. The shortcut will bite you in the butt every time. There's no such thing as a get rich quick strategy over here. It's a get rich slow. But you got to make sure you have sound principles in place. Do you have processes? Do you understand how the big businesses do business? Because that's what you need to be modeling your business after. Now, you may not have the budgets that they have, and that's okay. But every large business started off as a small business. And because of strong principles and operating methodology, they were able to grow. I want to see you grow. I don't want to see any more of these one and dones. They win a $6 million deal or $30,000 deal or $200,000 deal, and they catch HE double hockey sticks trying to keep that work. And then they say crazy stuff like, I'm going to just give the contract back to the federal government. What? Are you crazy? These are things I'm hearing. These are things I'm hearing. Now, you notice I didn't call any names. I'm not trying to stop anyone's bag. But what I am saying, it is incumbent upon you to understand who you're listening to. What's coming out of their mouth? Does it sound reasonable? And see, some have already invested in products and programs from their favorite quote unquote guru, and then they don't want to believe they've been lied to and deceived. So they fight to stay wrong. But I digress. I'm on one today. I didn't finish them at that PhD curriculum up. And we're going to be really talking about some things on this channel going forward because I'm tired of the nonsense. I'm tired of seeing people hoodwinked and bamboozled. And then, I'm just tired of the misinformation, and I'm going to stop there. So if you have not already, subscribe, share, like, leave me a comment, and go back and watch some of my other videos. And I need you to really, really, really consider jumping in my 5X Mastery Bundle course because I'm not going to be, I don't want to be, let me say it this way. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm helping you unravel your situations that could have been avoided. But you chose to go down. You chose to drive 100 miles per hour off the cliff. So, it's a free country. You can do what you want, and that's okay. But I want to see you do this safely. I want to see you create true multi-generational wealth in your family. But we have to approach this smartly. Government contracting is not hard. It's not hard at all. But there are a bunch of moving pieces and moving parts. And be very careful for those who overly simplify. And sometimes it's not that they're overly simplifying to make it easy. That's all they know. That's all they know. The knowledge, just is not that deep. So that's why they, people making it hard. No, you just don't know enough. And that's okay too. Because we're all learning and striving to get better and better every day. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox. You guys have a good day and go back and watch some of my videos and like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in a future video. Until next time.